Here's another pointless, thankless objection I'd like to register. I say it that way because I know you people, and I know your goddamn popular usage slammed the door on this one a long time ago, but here goes anyway. A cop-out is not an excuse, not even a weak one. It is an admission of guilt. When someone cops a plea, he admits guilt to some charge in exchange for better treatment. He has copped out. When a guy says, "I didn't get to fuck her because I reminded her of her little brother," he's making an excuse. But if he says, "I didn't get to fuck her because I'm an unattractive schmuck," he is copping out. The trouble arises when an excuse contains a small amount of self-incriminating truth. This one is directed to the sports assholes. You are destroying a perfectly good figure of speech. Getting the monkey off one's back does not mean breaking a losing streak. It refers only to ending a dependency. That's all. The monkey represents a strong yen. A losing streak does not compare even remotely, not in a literary sense and not in real life. Here's one that you hear from truly dense people. The proof is in the pudding. Well, the proof is not in the pudding. The rice and the raisins are in the pudding. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. In this case, proof means test. The same is true of the exception that proves, or tests, the rule. Boy, these things piss me off. Here we go. An eye for an eye is not a call for revenge. It's an argument for fairness. In the time of the Bible, it was standard to take a life in exchange for an eye. But the Bible said no, the punishment should fit the crime. Only an eye for an eye, nothing more. It is not vindictive, it is mitigatory. Don't make the same mistake twice seems to indicate 3 mistakes, doesn't it? First you make the mistake, then you make the same mistake, then you make the same mistake twice. If you simply say, "Don't make the same mistake," you'll avoid the first mistake. Unique needs no modifier. Very unique, quite unique, more unique, real unique, fairly unique, and extremely unique are wrong, and they mark you as dumb, although certainly not unique. Healthy does not mean healthful. Healthy is a condition, healthful is a property. Vegetables aren't healthy, they're dead. No food is healthy unless you have an eggplant that's doing push-ups. Push-ups are healthful. There is no such thing or word as kudo. Kudos, K-U-D-O-S, is a singular noun meaning praise, and it is properly pronounced kudos. There is also a plural form spelled the same, but pronounced kudos. Please stop telling me, "So-and-so picked up another kudo today." Here's another one that bothers me. When they say race, creed, or color, that's wrong. Race and color, as used in that phrase, describe the same property. And creed is a stilted, outmoded way of saying religion. Leave this tired phrase alone. It has lost its usefulness. Besides, it reeks of insincerity no matter who uses it. As of yet is simply stupid. As yet, I've seen no progress on this one, but of course I'm speaking as of now. Here's one you can win some money on in a bar if you're within reach of the right reference book. Chomping at the bit and old stomping ground are incorrect. Some Saturday afternoon when you're getting bombed on your old stamping ground, you'll be champing at the bit to use this one. Sorry to sound so picky, folks, but I listen to a lot of radio and TV, and these things have bothered me for a long time. I call this watch your mouth. It has to do with the way people speak. I'm easily annoyed by people's speech habits, and I regard certain words and phrases as warnings to break off contact immediately. In the interest of maintaining good mental health, I try to avoid the following people. Those who can't resist saying, "God forbid," every time they mention the possibility of an accident or death, even though they don't believe in God. People who say God rest his soul following the mention of a dead person, even if they hated the person and don't believe in God. These are the same ones who say knock wood and really mean it. Sometimes they'll even glance around half-heartedly for something to knock on before giving up and just standing there like the morons they are. And speaking of morons, can't we somehow prevent adults from using words like tushy, boo-boo, and no-no when speaking to grown-ups? Why don't we just send these people to their rooms without supper? Tell them there's not going to be any yummy in their tummy. And while we're at it, let's include all those colorful risk-takers who actually use heck and darn for emphasis. What the fuck is this, 1850? I also think we'd be better off if we could eliminate anyone who has a can-do attitude, or is referred to as take charge, all business, or no nonsense. Have these people sedated. And let's include the ones who describe themselves as goal-oriented. Please, leave me alone. And then there's those people who tell you, I'm a people person. I'm a people person. Oh yeah? Me too. Fuck people. And what about these guys who have no job and they say to you, are they keeping you busy? I happen to resent even the assumption that there are people who have the authority to keep me busy. Least of all do I appreciate it from some guy who doesn't seem to have a whole lot to do himself. And let's punish every homely man who ever thought it was clever to say, I'm not just another pretty face. And I think it's time to start slapping around these people who can't tell a simple story without repeatedly saying, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Here I am trying to listen to the guy, and he's a person who is constantly checking on how he's doing. Blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? No. The question is not, do I know what you're saying? The question is, do you know what you're saying? You follow me on that? I'm also getting tired of arguably. It's weak. It tries to have things both ways. Take a stand. And here are some jock sports fan adjectives that ought to be outlawed. Listening to a sports call-in radio station for about an hour, you will be amazed at the number of times you hear the following words. Incredible, unbelievable, tremendous, outstanding, big, huge, it was huge, dude, large, major, key. Do these guys sound like maybe someone's penis size is on their minds? I can also do without people who tell me that something, anything, is either the name of the game or what it's all about. That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about. Hey, that's the name of the game. How it is, huh? Well, fuck you. And let's lose these guys who think it's cute to say ouch when someone delivers a small put-down. There's another strain of speaker that I try to avoid, the pretentious and arrogant person. People who refer to themselves as yours truly. What kind of grandiose crap is this? Some of them even speak of themselves in the third person. Athletes and entertainers are big on this demented shit. I'm going to do what's right for Leon Spinks. I think people like this are mentally ill, and you can include those very special people who use the royal we. I also instantly dismiss anyone who tells me that some other person has class, is classy, or is a class act, the last of these being the most arrogant. What these speakers are telling you is that since they are among the few people who recognize class, it is their obligation to point it out to sorry-ass folks like you. If you manage to listen to them just a little longer, you'll find that they're completely full of shit. And this is the same type of person who uses the word tasty when referring to music. The previous reference to class is of the same order of arrogance as the phrases not too shabby, he's no dummy, I give him high marks, he's got his head on straight, and he really showed me something. All of these phrases reek of presumed superiority. And just when I thought all those precious twerps were about to stop saying not to worry, and by the by, along came what say you, and at the end of the day, to deepen my suffering, at the end of the day is probably the most pretentious expression to come along since the moi chow crowd descended on us. And just a tad has a phony ring to it. So does just a skosh. Speak English. And be on the alert for anyone who tells you that something they did was life-affirming. Oh, some celebrity said he quit doing his TV show because it stopped being life-affirming. Hey, Skeezix, when you finish affirming your life, get over here and give my dick a couple of jerks. And can't we figure out something evil to do to these people who call themselves survivors? Such self-regard. I'm a survivor. Good. We'll be sure to tell everyone at your funeral that you're a fucking survivor. And this one is almost too easy. Guys who can't leave a room without saying, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. You know what I say to them? Good. Stay the fuck out of here. There are also certain reckless people in this country who are abusing ongoing and early on. Leave these terms alone, please. They mark you as a counterfeit. Early on has faux poetic aspirations, and ongoing has only a very narrow area where it is distinctly appropriate. And some of these ongoing felons are the same ones who have vandalized the phrase, even as we speak. First they shortened it to, as we speak. Then they started using it every 4 minutes or so. Even as I write this, my pissed-offedness is ongoing. And fuck all the asshole people who say, God bless, and then don't bother to complete the sentence. Who are they? I haven't the slightest. But if I were God, I would not honor such a request. Anyway, enjoy. There are many popular beliefs that are rooted in familiar expressions and sayings, and many of them simply aren't true. Everything comes in threes. Not true. In reality, everything comes in ones. Sometimes, when 3 ones come in a row, it seems like everything comes in threes. And by the way, in medieval times, it was widely believed that everything came in 26s. They were wrong, too. It just took them longer to recognize a pattern. People say when you die, you can't take it with you. Well, that depends on what it is. If it's your dark blue suit, you can certainly take it with you. In fact, not only can you take it with you, you can probably put some things in the pockets. You learn something new every day. Actually, you learn something old every day. Just because you just learned it doesn't mean it's new. Other people already knew it. Columbus is a good example of this. The sky's the limit. Well, how can the sky be the limit? The sky never ends. What kind of a limit is that? The earth is the limit. You dig a hole, and what do you keep getting? More earth. The earth's the limit. You get what you pay for. Clearly, this is not true. Have you been shopping lately? Only a naive person would believe that you get what you pay for. In point of fact, if you check your purchases carefully, you will find that you get whatever they feel like giving you. And if corporations get any more powerful, you soon might not even get that. Tomorrow is another day. Not true. Today is another day. We have no idea what tomorrow is going to be. It might turn out to be another day, but we can't be sure. If it happens, I'll be the first to say so. But you know what? By that time, it'll be today again. Nice guys finish last. Not true. Studies have shown that on the average, nice guys finish third in a field of 6. Actually, short guys finish last. By the way, in medieval times, it was widely believed that nice guys finished 26th. You can see how limited those people were. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. Do we even have to talk about this one? This should be obvious. If you've seen one, you've seen one. If you've seen them all, then you've seen them all. I don't understand how this one even got started. Those were the days. No, those were the nights. Think back. Weren't the nights better? Days you had to work. Nights you went to parties, danced, drank, got laid. Those were the nights. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Well, what about when you eat at home? I don't pay when I eat lunch at home. It's free. Sometimes I'll leave a tip, but basically it's a free lunch. Yeah, I know we had to buy the food at the store, but as the Zen Buddhists say, the food is not the lunch. You pays your money and you takes your choice. Well, I think what I said earlier still applies here. You pays your money and you takes whatever they jolly well give you. Actually, when you get right down to it, you pays your money and you loses your money. Everybody has his price. Not so. Would you believe there are millions of people who do not have their price? Thanks to a government mix-up, many people have their neighbor's price. They don't make them like they used to. Actually, they do make them like they used to. They just don't sell them anymore. They make them, and they keep them. 2 wrongs don't make a right. Well, it just so happens that 2 wrongs do make a right. Not only that, but as the number of wrongs increases, the whole thing goes up exponentially, so that while 2 wrongs make 1 right and 4 wrongs make 2 rights, it actually takes 16 wrongs to make 3 rights and 256 wrongs to make 4 rights. Seems to me that anyone who is stringing together more than 256 wrongs needs counseling, not mathematics. If it's not one thing, it's another. Not always. Sometimes if it's not one thing, not only is it not another, but it turns out to be something else altogether. You can't win them all. Not true. Believe it or not, there's a man in Illinois who so far has won them all. But don't get too excited. It has also been discovered that under certain circumstances it is possible to lose them all. By the way, there's no record of anyone having tied them all. You can't have it both ways. Well, that depends on how intimately you know the other person. Maybe you can't have it both ways at once, but if you've got a little time, you can probably have it 6 or 7 ways. Things have to get better. They can't get any worse. This is an example of truly faulty logic. Just because things can't get any worse is no reason to believe they have to get better. They might just stay the same. And by the way, who says things can't get any worse? For many people, things get worse and worse and worse. Nobody ever said life was fair. Not so. I specifically remember as I was growing up at least 12 different people telling me life was fair. One person put it this way: "Life, you'll find, is fair, George." Oddly enough, all 12 of those people died before the age of 27. It takes 2 to tango. Sounds good, but simple reasoning will reveal that actually it takes only 1 to tango. It takes 2 to tango together, maybe, but one person is certainly capable of tangoing on his own. By the way, in medieval times, it was widely believed that it took 26 to tango. There's a sucker born every minute and 2 to take 'em. Well, this may have been true in the past, but now, if you adjust for the increased population base, birth control, and the so-called moral decline, not only are there 5 suckers born every minute, there are now 53 to take him. Life is short. Sorry, life is not short. It's just that since everything else lasts so long, mountains, rivers, stars, planets, life seems short. Actually, life lasts just about the right amount of time, until you die. Death, on the other hand, is short. What you don't know won't hurt you. Why don't we just ask Abe Lincoln and John Kennedy about this? In the privacy of your own home. As opposed to what? The privacy of someone else's home? You have no privacy in someone else's home. That's why you got your own home. Down the pike. He was the meanest guy ever to come down the pike. Fine. But what about guys who come up the pike? Not everyone lives north of the pike. Some guys have to come up the pike, and they're really mean because nobody mentions them at all. And what about a guy who doesn't even use the pike? He arrives on Amtrak. Boy, was the meanest guy ever to arrive on Amtrak. Doesn't sound right, does it? Like a bat out of hell. We say some guy was going like a bat out of hell. Well, how do we know how fast a bat would leave hell? Maybe he would leave real slowly. In fact, why should we assume that a bat would even want to leave hell? Maybe he likes it there. Maybe hell is just right for a bat. Maybe it's bat heaven. And now that we're on this subject, how do we know hell has bats in the first place? What would a bat be doing in hell? Usually a bat is in the belfry. Why would he want to split his time between 2 places? Then again, maybe that's why he's in such a hurry to leave hell. He's due back at the belfry. And why do we say out like a light? The primary function of a light is to be lit, not to be out. Why choose a light to represent the concept of being out? Why not on like a light? The same is true of dropping like flies. The wrong quality is being emphasized. Flies are known for flying, not dropping. And let's forget meteoric rise. Meteors don't rise, they fall. You can talk until you're blue in the face. Well, you can't talk until you're blue in the face. In order to talk, you need oxygen. Blueness of the face is caused by a lack of oxygen. So if you're blue in the face, you probably stopped talking a long time ago. You might be making some gestures. In fact, if you're running out of oxygen, I would imagine you're making quite a number of gestures, and rather flamboyant ones at that. When we point out someone's lack of popularity, especially a politician's, we sometimes say, he couldn't get elected dog catcher. Well, first of all, since when do they elect dog catchers? I've never seen one on the ballot, have you? The last time you were in the voting booth, did it say president, vice president, dog catcher? No. And why do they imply that getting elected dog catcher would be easy? I think it would be hard. A lot of people have dogs. They wouldn't vote for you, and many of the people who don't have dogs still like them. I should think it would be quite difficult to get elected dog catcher. One thing leads to another. Not always. Sometimes one thing leads to the same thing. Ask an addict. The pen is mightier than the sword, needs to be changed, needs to be updated. It's overdue. It should have been changed much earlier in the 20th century to the typewriter is mightier than the machine gun. But at this point it should probably read, the word processor is mightier than the particle beam weapon. Unidentified person. Well, what exactly is an unidentified person? Doesn't everyone have an identity? Maybe they mean he's a person they can't identify, but that would make him an unidentifiable person. I guess if nothing else, he could always be referred to as that guy we can't identify. Open a can of worms. Well, why would you have to open it? Are there really sealed cans of worms? Who sealed them? Worms are usually put in a can after it has been opened and emptied of something else, like corn or pumpkin meat. Uncover a can of worms, maybe, but not open. Wild and woolly. Whenever I hear something described as wild and woolly, I always wonder where the woolly part comes in. Wild, I understand. But woolly? I have some sweaters that are woolly, but they're kind of conservative. They're not wild at all. In the wrong place at the wrong time. How can this be? Shouldn't it be in the right place at the wrong time? If a guy gets hit by a stray bullet, he's in the right place, where his day's activities have taken him, at the wrong time, when a bullet is passing by. If it were the wrong place, the bullet wouldn't have been there. Here's another. In the right place at the right time. That's also questionable. Let's say a guy wins a prize for being a bank's millionth customer. All you really have to say is he was in the right place. After all, it had to be the right time. That's the only time they were giving away the prize. If it hadn't been the right time, it wouldn't have been the right place. 20 minutes later, the bank wouldn't be the right place anymore. You never know. Not true. Sometimes you know. You don't have to be a rocket scientist implies that rocket scientists are somehow smart. Well, how smart can they be? They build machines that travel thousands of miles to drop fire and radiation on people. That doesn't sound smart to me. The oldest trick in the book. Sometimes in the movies, when the bad guy is holding a gun on the good guy says, "It won't work, Scarfelli. My men are right behind you with their guns drawn." And the bad guy says, "You can't fool me, Murdoch. That's the oldest trick in the book." Well, exactly what book are these guys talking about? Have you ever seen a book with a bunch of tricks in it? Magic tricks, maybe, but I don't think the thing with the guns would be in there, do you? A prostitute might have a book of tricks, but once again, probably no mention of the two guys with the guns. And anyway, even if there really were a book with a lot of tricks in it, how would you know which trick was the oldest? They were all printed at the same time. You'd have to say, "You can't fool me, Murdoch. That's the trick that appears earliest in the book." But I guess that's not good movie dialogue, is it? When they say someone is not going to win any popularity contests, what popularity contests are they talking about? I've never heard of these contests. Where do they have them? And who wins? Whoever is winning these popularity contests can't be all that popular. You never hear about them. You could hear a pin drop. Well, you can't hear a pin drop. Not even a bowling pin. When a pin is dropping, it's just floating through the air. There's very little noise. You might be able to hear a pin land, but certainly not drop.